Well, 2020, COVID was a big hit to the economy as well as businesses. How well prepared was your business and its continuity plan? In this video, I want to run through a few things about technology and how it can help you in your business continuity planning, as well as assisting you making your IT and technology more resilient to future issues. There's going to be 4 key areas that I want to touch on in this video, and they are: firstly, cloud computing; secondly, IT infrastructure management; thirdly, automation of processes; and finally, securing data and information systems. I'm Matt Grace, Managing Director of Flying Donkey. Let's get into it. Alright, before I jump into point 1, let's have a quick look at what a business continuity plan is. A business continuity plan, or sometimes referred to as a disaster recovery plan, is a plan on how a business will operate in case of an emergency. This could be something as simple as a server goes down, or something larger like a wider natural disaster. Now in 2020, obviously we were hit with the coronavirus, and there was unprecedented lockdowns across the world. These obviously impacted how businesses operated and key things that drove businesses forward. These sort of situations would have kicked in your business continuity plan or disaster plan, and they would have relied on technology to assist you in this. Now, a business continuity plan can generally fall to a single person, or in larger organizations to a wider team. And they're generally tasked with making sure the business can operate in all circumstances, regardless of what's happening to the outside world. And this can be more challenging in some situations as others, but it's key to understand what exactly you're trying to recover from and how you might go about doing that. And that's what a business continuity plan is. There's a whole range of things that really should be in a business continuity plan, and I've listed them out on a blog that I posted on our site. The key things to understand here is they need to cover the full range of end-to-end processes within your business and need to be very clear in exactly what's required. I was speaking with Robert, who's helped us understand a bit around business continuity planning. He described to us some really key things that we see when we talk to clients. And that is, clients are really bad at planning for the worst case scenarios. So what he recommended, and we agree with, is trying to put out some really out there scenarios that can help the team kick off the brainstorming activity. Because if you plan for the worst and it doesn't happen, that's okay. But if you don't plan for the worst and it does happen, then unfortunately you're not ready for it. Now we have a better idea about business continuity, let's jump into the 4 key things we want to run through in this video. Firstly, cloud computing services. The cloud has been becoming a more popular option for the last 5 to 10 years, and rightly so. As part of the business continuity plan, the cloud gives a number of features that you're not going to get with on-premise situations. Or if you are going to try and achieve them in on-premise, they're going to potentially be cost prohibitive. When COVID hit in 2020, a lot of businesses who were already in the cloud had easier time of shifting to their business continuity plans. Other businesses had to almost shift overnight to the cloud to leverage some of the technology services that are available. Some of the key things to consider when building a cloud platform is around where the data is going to be located, where your users are going to be located, the security of those data, and the backup plans within the cloud. And generally the cloud, it doesn't matter which provider you go with, will have some sort of disaster recovery or automated backup solution. And one of the big things they can give you that you can't really get on-premise very easily is the ability to shift data between data centers relatively easily. And this is because these cloud providers generally run multiple data centers up and down the coast, and therefore you could back data up in a Melbourne data center and then mirror it into a Sydney data center with a simple click of a button. In order to achieve this by yourself, it's going to be much more difficult. At the same time, the cloud providers have a lot more built-in tools to allow you to do this, and that's why I recommend migrating to the cloud. I've touched on this previously on our top 3 tips to migrate to Azure, and you can find that video on our site below. Let's get to our second point, and that's IT infrastructure management. Now, I briefly touched on this in the previous point, but let's say you've gone to the cloud, you've essentially got 2 options. You can run more of an on-premise solution, whereas you get the cloud to provision you various servers. Based on these servers, you then set up your various backup procedures, whether that be an automatic mirroring or a point-in-time backup. Now, there is a second option, and that's running infrastructure as a service. And this is where essentially the cloud provider themselves has wrapped a product together and also built in backup and redundancy options into these procedures. A good example of an infrastructure as a service product is Azure SQL Database. And this is simply a SQL database, but it's got a whole lot of extra features built into it, such as automatic backups and automatic log backups, redundancy, and mirroring. These infrastructure as a service solutions give you a much easier way to set these up, and they also give you some good best practices in order to run along the way. So the point I'm trying to make here is, with your IT infrastructure management, make sure you're clear on what you're trying to achieve, whether you're happy to try and achieve that alone in the cloud, or whether you want to try and leverage infrastructure as a service solution. It will come down to your exact needs, and we can always assist you with this, but it's key to know that your disaster recovery plan is there, and you have a clear outcome of what you're trying to achieve. Point 3, automation of the process. So you've got a disaster recovery plan in place, and you've gone into the cloud, and you need to look at how that's going to actually work for you when the disaster happens. Now, generally, there's 2 ways you can do this. One is a point-in-time backup that's taken and stored on an external hard drive or an external system, and then restored as required to the server. The second one is a live mirroring of your server to other servers, potentially in the same or other data centers, that can be quickly switched over in this state of emergency. And obviously, these have different costs and also different benefits. So let's look at the benefits first. Obviously, taking the backup is going to take time to both restore and switch over. So if you have a live critical system that can't have more than a minute of downtime, this is going to be the option you're going to have to choose. Whereas if you're not as conscious there, and maybe it's a back-end process that runs your internal HR, or something that runs a bulk monthly process, maybe you can afford 1 to 2 hours of downtime. You can simply go for a backup solution, which is where you're taking a full backup to another server, and then restoring that backup back onto the server and getting it up and running. Again, these decisions should be made prior to the event actually occurring and be put into your business continuity plan. So therefore, when the event does happen, they either automatically switch over in the case of a live switchover, or you have a few hours of downtime which you already accepted, and you're going to be restoring from a backup to get your services back up and running. Generally speaking, we always go with the live swap over for many production environments, and this is because our clients have almost no tolerance for any downtime. In this setup, we'll generally have the live server sitting in one location, potentially say in a Victorian data center, and we'll have the other server sitting in say a New South Wales data center, and they'll be mirrored over every few minutes. At the same time, we'll also have a load balancer sitting over the top of this, and in case one data center goes down, it'll automatically switch the traffic to the other data center, thus appearing from the client side that there actually has been no downtime. While there obviously is increased cost to this is obviously a huge reputational bonus for the client, because essentially their clients are never going to complain about their services going down. The fourth and final point is going to be securing the data and information systems. In a disaster situation, there's going to be a lot of panic and pressure to get things up and running or moving as quickly as possible. But it's important to keep in mind that only certain people should have access to the data, and all of these details should be contained in your business continuity plan. Just because there's a disaster happening doesn't mean your clients' or customers' data should be shared with people who they shouldn't be shared with, and it's important these controls and checks stay in place. Essentially, as much as possible, normal business operations should continue, and that's really the driving force behind a business continuity plan, and that is trying to keep your main day-to-day activities as much as the same as possible. Alright, I've got a quick bonus tip for you here, and that's something to keep your relationships with your suppliers and customers as close as possible, and potentially discuss their disaster recovery plans as well with them. As with all businesses, we depend on other businesses to work and operate, and it's important to know that in the time of need, that business can also operate for you. Sometimes you integrate with another platform and you need their data services in order to run your platform. It's important to know what happens when something goes down on their side and how it's going to impact you. Therefore, my tip here is, once you've got your business continuity plan together, reach out to your suppliers and potentially some of your customers and see how their plans can dovetail into yours. So when the event does happen, so you know that you're covered from the end-to-end process in your business. Alright, so that's business continuity planning and how that impacts you and your business, and some of the best approaches we take here at Flying Donkey. We talked about how to leverage cloud services, both from an infrastructure perspective and also from an on-site migration perspective, and we've talked about some of those in previous videos. At the same time, when you're in a disaster situation, it's key to keep those security pieces in place and try and operate as normally as possible. And the key to trying to achieve that is both talking to your clients and your customers to make sure you can operate like that, as well as trying to automate as many processes as you can. For example, an automatic switchover if there's an issue. This can hopefully mean that your business will run smoothly and technology will be supporting your business rather than being a hindrance. If you've got any questions around business continuity planning or need any assistance setting that up in the cloud, please get in touch with us at Flying Donkey and we'd be happy to help.